behalf of Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we welcome you all for this conference on gender diversity in manufacturing. The session is organized under the joint aegis of Manufacturing and HR and Women Empowerment and Leadership Expert Committee. We are having today a galaxy of speakers addressing at this conference, and the Chamber acknowledges the speakers for accepting our invitation to address at this conference. I would now request Mr. T.R. Parshuraman, our immediate past president and president and whole-time director, Toyota Industries Engine India, to deliver the opening remarks. Before handing over the stage to him, I would like to briefly introduce him. Mr. Parshuraman has over 33 years of experience in manufacturing and production engineering, HR, and administration. He has extensively involved in various industry bodies in state and national level, in CII, ASSOCHAM, FICCI, ACMA. He is also the former chairman of QCFI, and he has extensively delivered lectures at both national and international forums. He is also a strong supporter of gender diversity at workplace. I now request Mr. T.R. Parshuraman, sir, to deliver his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
First of all, hearty congratulations to the chairman of Manufacturing Committee and the entire team BCIC for organizing this wonderful session. Can just turn it off. 1 second. Sorry, actually my iPad suddenly started working, so I'm getting a echoing voice. So first of all, my hearty congratulations to the entire team for organizing this wonderful program and great initiative, especially under the Manufacturing Committee. So this is a very good changing point. Normally this happens under the Women Empowerment Committee, BCIC, which is very, very strong, and I've been spearheading a lot of good initiatives. But this is happening under the Manufacturing Committee for the first time. I think that itself is a great sign of progress. And I'm very happy to see a lot of my good friends, women leaders in this forum, very senior people, Pankajam Sridevi ji, Mrs. Umar Reddy ji, Anuradha ji, Dr. Meera Venkat, and several other leaders I'm able to see. I'm very happy that this meeting is going to bring out a lot of value add to all our members. And I find this as a very significant topic, especially under the current situation, because of two reasons. Firstly, we are talking about a 5 trillion economy for the country by 2025, of course, which is a tall target. But definitely everyone is talking about the 5 trillion economy for India. And secondly, we have just come out of the COVID pandemic and trying to inch through. So several learnings, several reflections happened. Is it better?
Yes, sir. Please continue, sir.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Should I start from the beginning? I'm sorry that nothing was heard. Okay, first of all,
for the first few minutes, I think you were just talking about the $5 trillion economy. I think that's where it started getting cut.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. See, I just said this forum is all the more significant this time because of two reasons. One is we have just been able to come out of the pandemic, and we had learned several lessons at home front, like working from home, working at home, and working with a family, then learning some of the soft skills, then solving issues together for a common purpose. And you know that the CEO of home is always the the better half, the wife. So I think we learned several things. In fact, so this has really been a great eye opener for all of us. And secondly, we have been talking about a 5 trillion economy as a country like India, which is growing at a very, very fast pace today. And our percentage of manufacturing to the overall GDP is currently at 12-13%. We are talking about a 25% growth in the next 5 years or so. When we compare ourselves with countries like Japan or United States or China, so the manufacturing is going to grow in a big way. And whether we like it or not, we are not only going to be the market India, but India also will become the factory India because of our competitiveness. And we are very, very fast in developing new skills and our adaptability to learn new skills. Under the government initiatives like Atmanirbhar, Make in India, and the PLI schemes. So I have all been conducive to the growth of manufacturing in this country. Therefore, to make this happen, I think today the biggest challenge is the gender diversity, which is the biggest challenge that all of us should address. And all the more we have seen today, our world has become a global village. We can work from anywhere, any point of time. We are not barriered by time zone or from the place or the location. Even while doing multiple tasks, we can manage the meetings. Most of my meetings are happening in the car, and I think that's an amazing thing which I can't even imagine at least a few years back. And when we talked about working from home for manufacturing companies, people were laughing at it when a few years back when we were discussing. But today it has become a reality, and many of us don't want to go back to the old system because we have seen the kind of huge synergies that we could achieve in terms of improving our competitiveness. Today, all our global audits, be the supply chain audits, we used to have our meetings every month in different countries, Australia, Thailand, New Zealand. I think that kind of syndrome is gone. Today, we're able to seamlessly manage the meetings from the office, and meetings are very, very smart. And today, everyone is getting the focus for the meetings. We have to plan so many things, who should sit in the first row. So I think several things have happened. And we are able to save billions of dollars. And again, the renting of offices, today it has become a great reality that we are able to work from home. And so much of office space is lying idle. And commercially also it has taken a big hit. And therefore, several positive advantages have happened. Therefore, I think the gender diversity, when we say that, women find it very difficult sometimes to travel to factories and to take up senior positions because of the strenuous job, all those things are vanishing. And thanks to the modern technologies, the growth of IoT, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, the big data analytics, and all these mega technologies are transforming into a new world of manufacturing. And in fact, I'm told in one of the factories in Japan, where it is managed by two people, a man and a dog. The purpose of the man is to feed the dog, and purpose of the dog is to ensure that nobody enters the factory. So the automated factories are increasing. In fact, we have put our new hybrid manufacturing engine plant. It is a fully automated line. We have very few people, required to run the plant. Therefore, the remote locations are becoming very popular. So when I look at the potential of women in all this, I think it's amazing, and sky is not the limit. In fact, the kind of IQ, the kind of knowledge base they can bring in, calmly addressing the issues, and the kind of emotional connect they can bring in offices. In fact, I found when we try to employ a lot of women officers in our HR department, I think the connect between the union and the management improved significantly. In fact, how to look at the issues at more at a 360-degree viewpoint, how to look at multiple viewpoints, I think which was lacking in the manufacturing and many companies. Today, that disconnect is getting closed. And whenever I go to countries like Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, I see a lot of women folks, young engineers, they work in the factories. They're able to give better outputs. And whenever I see them working in the assembly lines, the kind of efficiency they're able to bring in is amazing. So I always ask my team, why don't we do that in our own plants? I think the situation is changing. That's why I said the first time this meeting is happening under manufacturing. So I'm very, very happy And today we are going to have brilliant speakers, a lot of panel discussions happening to address this very, very important topic. So I'm very happy to see some of the women leaders. I think Sri Lata Chambarakalam, Head of Technical Center, Continental Automotive, Mrs. Pangajam Sridevi, our own past President, Managing Director of Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and we have Mrs. Anuradha. I think she was my chair of the Energy Committee, a very knowledgeable person, and power. Then Mrs. Uma Reddy, our good friend, she's the Managing Director of iTech Magnetics. Dr. Meera Venkat, another very powerful women leader. She is heading the RISE Global and Corporate Board. And Sandhya Rastakalaji, the production in charge of Zabar group of mines. And I'm very happy. This is a very diversified team, which is going to address some of the key challenges. So for a country like India, I think this is a huge step that is required. I was talking to other day, Dr. Devi Shetty. He was telling me that 80% of the employment is happening in the form of women employment. And he told me one of the main reasons, if I employ a lady or a women employee, she takes care of the entire family is fed. If I employ a man, unfortunately, at the lower levels, most of the income is going towards the personal needs for X, Y, Z reasons. I think this is a very powerful point that he brought in. Therefore, I think the economy multiplies and it has got a multiplier effect with this kind of employment generation of women. But some of the challenges that our country is still facing, early dropouts from the schools and colleges, because this girl child, I find very sad. Because many toilets are not available in the villages. In fact, recently some of the programs I'm trying to advocate women toilets in the primary villages. Mainly, many dropouts are happening due to that, and we have seen when we started putting toilets, and not only toilets and managing the toilets and maintaining the toilets. I think the success rate has improved tremendously, and of course, the early child marriages, which was a kind of big challenge for our country. I think that kind of a challenge is slowly fading out, and now people are becoming more literate. I think the awareness is building in. Then other systems like the dowry systems and women harassment. I think because of the equality, today the millennials are completely a new set of breed because they see the equality in everything. That's a very, very positive point. So what India learned from other countries is the equality. I think the millennials are real role models. Therefore, the situation is going to change. But I think it's very important that the societies, organizations, corporates, governments, NGOs should take a very, very strong stand on supporting this diversity ratio. And today in the corporate boards, I think Dr. Meera Venkat is here. I think I also happen to work with her very closely. I think the kind of women leaders, they have brought in a lot of success to the corporates. I think the companies which have put a lot of women leaders and a lot of senior women leaders in the board, they have been able to reap a huge success factors in terms of profitability, in terms of expanding their horizon to other countries, other diversified business. That kind of significant factor we are able to see. And thirdly, the emotional quotient I think women can bring into the management. I think the men are not able to see the 360-degree picture because, as I said, women is the CEO of the family because she really runs the family. So, which means they are already CEOs. They know the plus and minuses, where to compromise, where to be assertive. I think this kind of overall 360-degree picture is missing. I think that brings in a lot of synergy to the corporates. So I don't want to take much of your time because a lot of other leaders are the anvil to share their message. Once again, I can keep on talking, but I think this is a great topic. Once again, I congratulate the entire team and thank the panelists from the bottom of my heart for accepting our invitation and planning to address today's session. Wishing you all a very happy, value-adding time. Thank you very much. God bless. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, sir, for your opening remarks. Before I request Mr. Prakash, who is the Chairman Manufacturing Expert Committee of BCIC, to set the context, on behalf of the Chamber, we acknowledge our members' support in supporting the Chamber's initiative by way of sponsoring all the annual events of the Chamber. Mrs. Bueller, Fundermax, Wipro, MTR, and Sona Group of Companies. Now, I would request Mr. Prakash to set the context. A brief introduction. Mr. Prakash comes with over 30 years of experience in the field of operations, maintenance, and quality. He also has served as at the Toyota Motor Corporation, Japan, in the field of production engineering. He is the chairman of Manufacturing Expert Committee, and he is also the life member of QCFI and Indian Society for Quality. Over to you, sir. Please take it over from here.
Yeah, thank you, Rupa-san. And also, you said it is setting a context. I think context already Parashuraman-san has said it very well. I don't have much to say, but however, I would like to briefly make it as a simple 5-slide presentation so that it is more summarized in this way. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Clear, sir.
Yeah, I think once again, good afternoon and welcome to the mini conference on gender diversity in manufacturing. On behalf of the team from BCIC, office bearers and mentors, chairs of manufacturing committee, as well as human resource. I think I'm getting echo. Okay. I would like to thank the esteemed speakers, panelists, and presenters who have accepted our request to, and we are truly honored to have them for this session. I just wanted to give a brief about this. Women empowerment is a critical aspect of achieving gender equality and gender diversity. World leaders have long appreciated and advocated, emphasized the need for enhancing the women empowerment, which includes increasing the woman's sense of self-worth, her access to opportunities, resources, and her ability to affect the change. The ability to affect change is improved through education and skill development. I think the word STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education for women, the UNESCO data of 2017 indicates 33% of students in STEM field are women. It is important that every nation utilizes such skilled resource for its economic development. I think the Indian manufacturing sector contributes about 17% to GDP in 2020. And I think in that the service sector contributes about 54%. The current estimates of women workforce only about 25.9% of overall workforce. And in manufacturing, the women make up just about 12% of the workforce. And we need to do a lot in enhancing female labor workforce participation, considering that India is ranked just about 120 among the 131 countries in the labor force. I think there is some problem, excuse me. However, I think the broad areas of interventions are shown here, and the Government of India has taken several initiatives to encourage women workforce. Some of them have been shown here. And if implemented and respected by all, these initiatives and policies could remove some of the barriers of women participation and offer a significant contribution to the Indian economy. I think this is about the recent amendments. Government of Karnataka has also issued new guidelines to employers and the organizations to encourage women participation in manufacturing through amendments to the work times. Including permission to work in the night shift with the suitable measures to ensure safety and security of women employees. Already few OEMs and Tier 1 companies, to name a few, I think even TVS Motors and we find the GE and Wipro already are encouraging, and organizations have started enhancing the ratio of women employees and are able to realize the improved efficiency and productivity. However, in spite of all these efforts, more needs to be done to increase the level of participation in manufacturing, which may further call for further revision in policies at both government and within the organization towards improving the ecosystem. So why that's the real context, and why the virtual conference we have set is basically our objective is to sensitizing corporates about the availability of talent pool, challenging stereotypes about women being suited for certain roles, creating an enabling ecosystem to support gender diversity, and experience sharing and practical insights. I think these are the few 4 important objectives of this conference. And we are trying to adopt this process, panel discussions, one-to-one discussion or interview and experience sharing. As an outcome of this, we are trying to summarize and conclude and make a recommendation to the government of Karnataka to further enhance gender diversity in manufacturing. With this, I would like to conclude my context setting insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I would request Ms. Ira Kilani, who is the Director, Goldratt India, and also the member of the Manufacturing Expert Committee, to take it over from here. A brief introduction. Ira is a management consultant with a diverse experience across pharmaceuticals, apparel, textile, retail, automotive, communications, and technology sectors. She is also a theory of constant international certification organization certified expert in TOC fundamentals. She has been invited to share her experience at several industry bodies, and she has also been trained in TOC thinking process at Goldratt Odyssey program in Netherlands. Over to you, Ira.
Thank you so much, Rupa. It is a pleasure to introduce our first speaker for the day. We have a very accomplished professional, Mrs. Lata Chembrakalam. I'll just share a brief profile of hers. Lata has close to 3 decades of experience. In her role at Continental, she's responsible for engineering competence for global and local markets, focusing on automotive technologies that include autonomous mobility and safety, and vehicle networking and information business areas. She is also a certified coach from CFI, and she oversees continental engineering services, artificial intelligence, architecture and software, processes, methods and tools, PMT, at departments in India. She is also responsible for the growth of Center into a trusted partner contributing to Continental's global R&D expertise. Prior to Continental, she has also been associated with several multinational companies such as Robert Bosch Engineering, Business Solutions, Siemens, R&D, and she's also been an R&D engineer at Bharat Heavy Electricals, Bangalore. Welcome, Lata.
Yeah, thank you, Ira, and very good afternoon to everybody.
Okay, so Lata, before I hand it over to you, just one very quick thought from my side. I mean, you've had such a great, extensive experience over the years. So, if you could just share with us possibly some of the challenges which you've faced. Also, some of the, you've been working in so many organizations across Bharat Electricals, Bosch, now Continental. So some of the enablers that have helped you in your journey to overcome these challenges or any other mindsets that you may have come across. And also, there's something called Women in Manufacturing and Continental that we've heard about. So if you could also throw some light on that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thanks for that interesting question. I would say that when you are in the industry for 3 decades, there are challenges and challenges. Yeah, a lot challenges. Right? So maybe I would try to focus on two particular challenges. See, I was a hardcore R&D engineer, and I was doing a lot into the technology side, and then I decided to move into sales and marketing, and that was actually one of the big side steps I have done in my career. So this is one challenge, and then the other one I would say is being in a company like Bosch for 17 years, I took a transition to Continental 8 months back. So this is another, it's a very different world, a different culture and so on. But what I would fundamentally say is when we are talking about challenging roles in the industry, certain practices that we do remains the same, irrespective of the type of the challenge. So whether it's a manufacturing R&D or whatever, I think it would remain the same. And the first one, the few things that helped me, the first one I would say, it will start by saying I can instead of saying I can't. So try to bring a optimistic and a positive view to whichever challenge, to whichever organization you bring it. At the same time, looking at the pace at which the technology is changing, whether it is R&D, manufacturing, whatever, you need to really upskill and reskill yourself to stay relevant in the area of technology, business, strategy, and very important culture also. Because we are, when we look from my generation, we are handling with Gen Z, millennials, And, the work culture is very different. The average age in the company is around 31 years and where we are in our 50s. So it's quite, something which we need to do. And another one is also to look at accepting the mistakes, because every challenge is an opportunity for you to progress and it can help you grow further in the organization. So this is something, so taking risk and challenges is a part of learning and growing, and challenging the status quo, challenging yourself once in a while to be a better avatar of yourself. I think all these things are important when we are talking about the word challenge. And one important thing is also to know your battlefield before you start the battle. Yeah, and choosing your battles very wisely. After all, life is really not measured by how many times you stood up to fight, but looking at, fighting the most important battles and letting go of the rest at the same time, looking at kind of a win-win and not a win-lose. So this is basically something which has helped me as part of, professional in terms of taking up challenges. I think, I hope I answered your question. Yeah. And
Yeah,
but yeah, you had another question on women in manufacturing, right?
yes.
So coming to this, women in Continental is always very passionate about diversity, and very, as an organization, we strongly believe in diversity of thought because it brings in a lot of value, and gender diversity obviously is an area of focus. And so we launched this program, which we call as Women in Manufacturing last year, as an initiative to empower and to support women to take up career in manufacturing through various skill development programs. So like I think most of you being from the industry knows that, it's kind of wrongly perceived often as unsuitable for women. So one of the ideas of this program is focusing on building awareness. For example, visiting plants for the first-hand experience of working conditions, safety, what kind of inclusive practices we have in the organization, and also show them the advancement in automation and smart technologies. And, so these are some of the things which we do. And also talking about mentoring and counseling for the participants and their key family members, because we always believe that family is a very important stakeholder, and the key family members are also, we have conversations with them so that we can address some of the stereotypes which are there in the industry. So this particular program, we are looking at 3 categories of people. The first is high school student, high school girl student. The second one is ITI and engineering student. And third is economically weaker section of women. So there are 3 categories whom we look into. And the major component of this program is basically for the employable age women, which includes 320 hours of training. And this includes a hands-on machinery operation, factory exposure sessions, plant tours, and so that, they can get a real feel of what is happening there. And at the end of the certification program, and this comes under the Capital Goods Skill Council, there is, and also course level of NSQF level 3, these candidates are provided with mentoring, interview support, and placement support. So it was very interesting for us to see that several manufacturing companies in Bangalore had taken, and Gurgaon also have hired people from our program, and we had 100% placement last time. Yeah. So the first time we focused in Bangalore and Gurgaon, and recently we launched this program also additionally in Pune and Chennai. And we are hoping that we can kind of, extend this program to other hubs over a period of time. So this is something which we are doing for women in manufacturing. And I would say it's really very appreciated by the candidates, as well as even from the plant heads. We have a very positive feedback on how this program runs.
Lata, thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like a very comprehensive program, and I think a couple of points that you said addressing the family aspect, I mean, that those are so very important things. I mean, you can do everything, but sometimes those things become impediments, and it's just, a woman's career does not take off. So I think on behalf of BCIC, I would also like to, say that we would like to be involved, if we can support Continental's efforts in any way to do this. We will connect with you separately and see as a chamber how we can support this initiative. So Lata, another thing that I wanted to understand from you was, considering that you've worked with both Indian companies as well as MNCs, I wanted to understand, what is your experience of the global scenario? Is that much different from India? Any observations, suggestions that you would like to share based on your observation of global practices?
So what I feel is that, for example, when you look at the US as a company, I think they have very well advanced there, and they have, percentage of women in manufacturing is more. But I mean, you can't really tell, the West is better than the East, right? So there are different countries. It depends on the policies, the kind of political influences they have. There are a lot of factors which are kind of governing it. But what I would say is that the awareness overall, if you look at globally, has really increased now. And there is a lot of drive in every country, every economy, if you look at it, to use the women power, I would say, because the talent pool availability to harness it in a much bigger set. And I think, as one of the speakers told, bringing this diverse perspectives and innovative approaches in decision making, which will have a balanced organizational structure. I think this is valued by the companies. And if you look at India, like, if you have 48% of a population is women, but if you look at it, it's only 12% in manufacturing. Even though we all think that gender diversity is a very important component, there's a lot more that we can do. So there are several efforts that have been made by different manufacturing industries, but I would say that there is still a lot more that we can do. And interestingly, I was reading somewhere, Ira, that if you have men and women participating equally in the industry, the percentages are very different now. If you are having it equally, India's GDP can increase as much as 27%. This is a whopping number, which is quite interesting. And what is positive for the women now is that when you look at manufacturing industry, which was pretty much male dominated, because the feeling was that it's completely labor intensive and you need muscle power kind of a thing. That was the feeling was there. And due to this technology advancements which are coming in, for example, Industry 4.0, and there are a lot of technologies coming in with respect to, the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, and data analytics and so on. I really expect and I feel that the women's representation in manufacturing can only continue to grow. For example, if you look at continental globally, overall in manufacturing, there's close to 25.5% women, and India is only 8%. So it is very clear that we need to also work quite a lot in this area, and there are different ways of doing it. One is like the stereotype family and other things, addressing it, and also to even relook at how women, not even women, the whole society is looking at jobs in manufacturing. As I mentioned, from a labor intensive to more a technology job. Second thing is, you have these manufacturers attracting women by creating a diverse culture, and these flexible hours, parental leave, shifts, and a lot of things which are happening now. But very important for me is that we have to say that seeing is believing, right? So that is imperative for the female role models who have risen to the ranks to be visible throughout all the levels, and recognizing their success will help. And there are many women engineers across industries who can actually mentor, who can also share their journey, because somebody who has started 15 years in manufacturing and now there is a world of difference, right? Because it's much more conducive and better working environment and policies that we have now. So how do we really create this impactful and positive perception about manufacturing? And it is incredibly important to shine a light on these accomplishments of these women in manufacturing industry to inspire others to join them, right? So, and last but not the least, of course, I think the government policies and others also play a very, very important role in this. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
Lata, you talked about technology and the new skills that may be required. So, I wanted your perspective. I mean, other than you talked about the Women in Manufacturing program, which takes them step by step through the skills that they need to have. Other than that, also any specific skills that you would, and that is relevant for both working professionals who are currently working or aspiring professionals. What kind of skills should they be focusing on? And also, another aspect, you mentioned briefly when we spoke earlier, was the resilience, not just the physical resilience, the mental resilience aspect. So do you recommend anything, that women can go out and do on their own, or organizations could encourage in this area?
Okay, so on a lighter note, I would say that I believe that before skills, it is the interest levels that need to be high when one looks to pursue a career, irrespective
Right.
whether it is technology or manufacturing. I think the genuine interest to contribute, I think that's the main thing, right? And as we all know, currently there are ample opportunities and there are more opportunities coming to India, and the organizations are willing, and there's a good ecosystem to support female talent. I think all of us should consciously work to make it better. So when we talk about, how do we support what kind of skills, I think from a subject matter perspective, I would say few points. So one is that once you ensure that you have the right foundational course in engineering or any other technical education, then it is all about how we can persevere to be the best and push ourselves to achieve what we are setting out to do. So that is one part. The second one is, if you look at a modern manufacturing setup, to the overall understanding of the manufacturing process and also the industry 4.0, 5.0 is also getting very, very important, because the factories are all getting modernized, right? So that's one part. And the second thing is, the third thing I would say, that many manufacturing companies are going highly technical. There is a lot of technology transformation is opening. So the trends in robotics, in automation have increased over the years, and manufacturing employees are also leveraging a lot of machine learning, as I mentioned, drones, modern tools, and so on. So these seeking out candidates, it will be helpful if they have an aptitude for technology as well. So this is one thing which I would look at. Another perspective would be, now data is everything. So big data analytics is being used, because the visibility of manufacturing data and how to make strategic decisions which are invaluable for the manufacturing plant. Big data analytics also will play an important role. Then we talk about improvements, which is like lean manufacturing, continuous improvement. These are also coming in a big way. So, and I would say from the leadership perspective, if anybody is intending as a leader, we need to ensure that we need to develop the right product understanding, understand the customer requirement, understand the market requirement, and also learn to develop a vision to make the manufacturing competitive for the target market. So these are some of the mindset that you need to, I would say, cultivate when the person is young, not suddenly getting to the leadership position, right? And also the added advantage is to have the understanding of labor laws, compliance laws, environmental and other requirements, so on, which all have an impact on manufacturing at a higher level. And in general, I would say, from a leadership perspective, it is a lot to do with the flexibility or the adaptability quotient to learn new skills, and networking, gaining allies, and skill to connect to the shop floor. All this becomes important. So when I came in the I would say mid 90s, I could not speak a word of Kannada. And then, I had to be in the shop floor, the PCB manufacturing in BHEL. And it was mandatory. If you have to interact, if you need to work with the people, you need to learn Kannada. So there was an interesting thing that, they were doing a Kannada certification course after office in the plant for some of them. So I joined them, and most of our worker colleagues, they were actually teaching us. The blue collar were teaching the white collar. But it was such a good bonding experience that at the end of 4 or 5 months, I had a certification. I still can, read, write Kannada. I'm very happy about it. But at the same time, the bonding that we could get with the people on the shop floor was amazing. So this is also another thing to succeed in a manufacturing setup, to be with the people, to understand their pain, able to talk the local language. I think all of these also kind of help. It's not only the technology skill, it is also the human skills at a large percentage, right?
Absolutely. There are many women leaders, who have talked about what you just shared, that initially that, even breaking into that, the male, water cooler chats, that itself is one thing which women often shy away from. It's just about taking that first step. And, once you are open, people are also open to receiving and sharing information. So that's also something that I have heard in other areas as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, Lata. I know you are short of time, but I do have one last question, if you can just take a couple of more minutes. So one of our objectives is to, share the recommendations from today's session to the government, in terms of a recommendation from BCIC and industry leaders. So any suggestions from your side on what BCIC as well as government bodies can do to, take a step forward in this direction?
I feel very strongly that yes, government and BCIC can play a very important role. So basically, I would say that how do we really look at communicating differently and handling the stereotypes that can lead to discomfort in the professional sphere? I don't know what we can do, but I think as a team, I think this is something. This disparity is very much prevalent in this manufacturing sector, and it is kindly, it is kind of construed as less women friendly, even though it is not at many point of time. So one is the communication aspect. How do we address it? The second thing, what I really like is that a good start was the framing of this new education policy that emphasizes on the vocational training as a route for generating employment. That I think is something which is positive. Yeah, and additionally, certain stringent policies on companies ensuring the safety and health of the employees. This should be put more into practice and also monitored in a very big this thing, right? So this is something which we can do. Another target area where I think we all could support along with BCIC to have certain bridge programs for women from rural areas, which will, which will not only, improve the employability, but I think it will also, make an impact on the society per se. Because I think if they are employed, the children get better education, and I think this would do a world of good into their interpersonal skills, exposure, and confidence, right? So industry bodies should push more for these, and also to ensure that we have more and more practices and encourage more women to the workforce. I think this is something which we are there. And I strongly believe that, India, we women still represent one of the largest pool of untapped talent for manufacturing industry, right? And now the industry is in a state of reinvention. So encouraging and educating as well as empowering women to join this workforce is critical to the future success. And I'm sure that academia, industry, and bodies like BCIC, along with government, can do quite a bit on it. And from Continental, yes, we are always happy to support for any initiative. Yeah.
Absolutely, I think Lata, I think that's a you've given a very strong parting note. I mean, the fact that when you help those women, you're not just helping them, you're also helping the future generation. You're also setting the right role model, not just for the younger women, but also for younger men to see that it is not just that men are suited for certain roles and women are suited for certain roles. So thank you very much, Lata, and we look forward to associating with you, for future programs as a chamber as well as in our personal capacities. So thank you so much once again for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. Thanks everybody for this opportunity. Yeah, have a good session. Thank you.
Our next speaker today is somebody all of us have known for a very, very long time, past president of BCIC, Mrs. Pankajam Sridevi. She needs no introduction. However, I will still share her illustrious career with all of you. Mrs. Pankajam Sridevi has over 34 years of rich experience in diverse segments, ranging from manufacturing to technology to banking domains. She was instrumental in implementing machine learning into critical processes like sanction screening, payments, after human centered design of processes. As many of us know, Pankaj is passionate about diversity at workplace. She's done a lot of amazing work in this area at ANZ, not just with women, but also with persons with disability, LGBTI persons in the workplace. In her most recent role as managing director at Commonwealth Bank of Australia, she has grown the India team to 2,500 plus and built leadership in just 2 years during the pandemic. She's received a lot of awards and recognition: NCP, EDP, Helen Keller Award, Women CEO of the Year Award from GISR Foundation, Iconic Leaders, Creating a Better World for All Award at Women Economic Forum, India's Top 30 Emerging Tech Leaders at the Intelligent Automation India 2020, Top 10 Tech Women Leaders Award 2022. So, of course, that was a very brief introduction based on my interactions with Pankajam. I mean, I've learned so much from her over the years, and there are so many things that she has shared with me which have made an impact. So I could go on and on, but right now I'd like to hand it over to Pankajam and hear her thoughts.
Thank you, Ira. This is not a short introduction. It's almost everything except my horoscope, Ira. So I really want to start with a story. So between 1990 and 2000, I worked in manufacturing industry. I was part of Asia Brown Boveri. So I was in the design team and I went with a very young engineer and me, went to one of the electricity boards in the northern part of India. As soon as we went into the executive engineer's room, the executive engineer asked, "Oh, you brought your wife with you." Actually, that guy was so embarrassed, not because executive engineer said like that, but I was 10 years elder to him and he knew that. And I could see that reflecting on his face saying, "This lady, my wife, I'm not even married." But the context here is not that, but the context is that when a senior leader and engineering leader walks into the room of a very senior engineer in a government organization, the first impression is that it's a woman who has accompanied a man. Actually, that junior engineer accompanied me. This was many, many years ago. If the workforce of women is only 12% in manufacturing, I have no doubt in my mind that even after 22 years, this kind of bias would not have changed. In another instance, it's almost in 2000, I think, I went into an organization and the CEO of that organization just asked me, "Oh, how can you manage this job? This is a process automation job and only men can do it." I'm like, "I don't know about you as a customer, but my team, my organization has got confidence in me and they have sent me here." There was a lot of doubt on the face of that CEO. I can still remember that in my mind after 22 years. And I go in and I start working the process automation, everything happens. At around 12 o'clock, when I wanted to really go to the washroom, that is when I realized that there is not a single washroom for a woman in that entire organization. I was dumbfounded, to be honest. I think Parashuraman made a mention that women need toilets. I think men and women, we all need toilets. So I go back to the CEO's room and his expression was, I told you that it is difficult to work in this organization." And I told him, yes, it is difficult to work for a woman if there is no toilet in this place. And I saw the kind of embarrassment that he had. And I must tell you, even now we are great friends. And that changed him. That changed his mentality to say that he has to be more open. So we talk about a lot of opportunities that are there, etc. But I think we must not shy away from the biases that are there in the manufacturing industry. It's not only in the manufacturing industry. Now I've been working for 20 years in the service industry. There is bias. There's unconscious bias on women growing in organizations. I think it's very large in manufacturing, not because of the type of the industry. It's simply because women are less in that industry. We can't have female role models. The entire workforce of a 30 million workforce that is there in India, if 12% are women, how many role models can we get there? So we really want male champions of change from the 88% of men. And I can tell you that in my first ever job that I had, when I had a little baby, I told my manager that I'm going to leave. Because in manufacturing, there is no way, it was not even thought of that you can work from home. But I had a leader who was different. He told me, "Pankajam, I'll send the peon to your house." Those days you have a role called a peon to your house with all the documents. You can review it, you can engineer it, and the peon will come and collect it in the evening. And I did that. So there were male champions of change at that time when women were given opportunities to work from home. We are talking as if it's a great thing today after 22 years, when I had the experience of working from home for 8 months in a row in 22 years back. So what the society needs, what the manufacturing sector needs is definitely that change. And I think the earlier speaker, Leta, said that we have to create awareness of what our male champions of change can do to attract women into the workforce. I was reading an article of one woman in Tata Steel because I'm very passionate about this. She was telling that she was operating a forklift, and people were very surprised that she's operating a forklift. And she said, it's a forklift. I don't need to be a bodybuilder to operate a forklift. But that awareness of all the jobs that are there in manufacturing and how that can be accessed with women, that is the first job that we have to do. If there's no awareness, we cannot create interest. If there is awareness and there is interest among the people who are now leading manufacturing organizations, and if you can percolate that to the women workforce, that is potential women workforce that is never ever kind of tapped into, that's when manufacturing sectors can have more women. So we have to start by employing them and giving them the what they need. So the technology, what we talk about, our technology is there, technology is going to change things. That's a very small percentage of jobs. The majority of jobs that are there is on the floor in the manufacturing sectors. I can give another example. When I was working in manufacturing, we have to wear a shoe. There is no shoe designed for a woman. The shoe is only designed for a man, and it is very heavy. So it's women find it difficult to walk with the shoe. Think of the bias that is there. And we must not close our eyes to that bias. We have to change the narrative. There are many occasions when there are conversations that happens which is not comfortable for women. I think as a community, both men and women must change that narrative, must make sure that we keep people aware of the biases. If we go forward like that, I think this 12% will increase maybe by 5% in the next 5 years. I must tell you, the World Economic Forum has told that to get equity in the world of job areas. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Pankajam. There was some other background noise.
There's some. So if we want equity, it will take 180 years. That time, none of us will be here. Our next generation and next generation will not be here. So what are the little steps that we take to create awareness, to create interest, and get women into jobs? I think that's the focus that we have to give. I'll stop here, Ira, for your next question.
Okay. Pankajam, unconscious bias, I think you've really hit it on the nail, because I think sometimes, people feel that don't talk about these things, move forward. But I think what you're trying to say is that till we address these, it is not going to make a change. So from your side, what would be the suggestions for, say, academia or people who are grooming young managers, at a younger level? How do we inculcate some of these things? I mean, other than the mandatory training, some of these things which happen across organizations, now they have those mandatory trainings on unconscious bias, where they're shown videos. But I think it's making a very small, I mean, the change is not happening at the pace at which we would want. So any specific ways in which these can be addressed?
I think the number one thing is to constructively challenge when we see bias. So how do you constructively challenge is only when we give psychological safety for the women folk. So all of you have young daughters, tell them that they can open up their mind. Tell them that they can speak what they think they want to tell. Tell them that they have the choice to decide what scheme of work they want to do, what is the education that they want to do. Most of the time, we don't give a career identity for our girls. We give them education identity. So we say, oh, you want to study MA, you study. You want to study PhD, you do that. But career identity, we talk to women and say, oh, you need a job where you have to come back to take care of your husband. You have to come back before your husband reaches. And you have to be there for your children. so that their education does not get impacted. That is no career identity. When we build a community itself without career identity, where is the question of them having the courage to stand up and speak? So I think building that courage, to question status quo, to say that this is not what I want, that psychological safety is what we have to give women. And the other one is all of us being senior women. I can see all of you, senior women. We should never shy away from challenging an unconscious bias that we see. I can give you an example. It happened in BCIC itself, and sometimes very good people have unconscious bias. Very good people. They are excellent people. But somebody said, I went abroad. I had a nice time because there were beautiful women all around me giving talks, and I challenged that. I'm like, I don't think that is appropriate for you to say that. That's not why we send you to go for the seminar. And I know that that person never intended that. However, we have to challenge that narrative because it is an education for people that that is not acceptable for you to talk. So that's one side of reducing bias, and the other side is that women must show the courage, and that's role modeling. If you show the courage to question that bias, 10 people who are around you will learn that. And then that really kind of reflects in the society. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but start it in your home and then in your area of influence, and that will spread by.
And I think you're right. Sometimes, we avoid that confrontation, and some of the statements, boys will be boys, locker room talk. I think we have to challenge them. And like you said, it is not that the person is bad. It is an unconscious bias that they have. So the idea is also not to target the person saying this, but to target the statement that they have made. I think I personally believe that, I think, while a lot of these trainings happen for men on unconscious bias, I think also training women on having some of these conversations, though, like you said, no amount of training can help unless we take that courage, unless we make that first step. So absolutely.
And I want to tell you, Ira, it is not men who show unconscious bias. There are women also. We all show that as senior leaders. So I myself have shown it when somebody came and told me, oh, I'm ready. I said, oh, I don't think she'll go abroad now because she has 2 little kids. That's bias. How can you assume whether my colleague will go or will not go based on the fact that she has 2 kids? Yeah. And to my pleasant surprise, that's bias. So I myself learned from it, and to my pleasant surprise, she said that she is going for that opportunity. So I'm saying that bias is not only there in manufacturing sector, it's there in service sector, it is there in women, but definitely more in men.
Absolutely. There's one last question from my side, and then maybe we can take a couple of audience questions. So in case anybody has a question, please share your question in the chat box, and I will ask it to Pankajam after this question. Your recommendations for government as well as industry bodies such as BCIC, what can they do to accelerate this change?
I think government, one of the rules that is there even today is that if women are working in shifts, it's some 1948 kind of in Shops and Establishment Act of 1948. Good God, that's long time ago. So it used to say that beyond 8, women cannot work in an organization. And when I was CEO of a bank, I had to take permission to work to stay after 8, whereas all my male colleagues could be just there and work. So the intent of that is very good. It is for safety of women, and it is paramount that there is safety of women. But the point is, if now in 2005, I think government changed that to say, provided women are safely, returned to home or they go back home. So I think government has to bring that equity. Today, there is bias in policies, procedures, everything. In the context of saying that women have to be safe, there is bias. So how can BCIC influence to say that, please give equity? It's not equality, but equity, because equity means it is not one fit for all, but it is normalizing differences. So how do we normalize difference so that we give a level playing field for both men and women? I think that's where BCIC and government can do a lot. And BCIC, as I said, I want to conclude is that we have to create awareness and interest in women. There are a lot of women who can be skilled, who are sitting at home, returning mothers. There are a lot of women who can do great jobs. The CEO of Lidget Puppet is not even educated. I know that this is one example. So education doesn't mean you have to go to college and get an engineering degree and then IIM. That's not it. So there are people who have really come up in life in different ways. So if we can create that awareness and interest and in a concentrated way, go to areas, bring people up and help them to get into jobs, that BCIC can do, because small and medium enterprise, there are at least 500 members that BCIC has. I don't know how many female colleagues are there in these organizations. So making a collective effort to find jobs. At the end of it, that 12% must move to 30-40% if we really want equity and if we want to eliminate bias. At 12%, there will always be bias because it's a thumping majority of men.
Yes, so you'll take one step forward and two steps backward. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so one last question, Pankajam. Any best practices which are there in the service sector which manufacturing can adapt?
So I think, one thing that service sectors do quite well is that, see, if there is a job description that comes, so if there is a job, so I have no disrespect to the men. I can see many men, so no disrespect to you. But men look at what can be done in the job, whereas women look at what cannot be done in the job. And this is nothing to do with a man. This is the way we have grown up in our environment. So when women look at what cannot be done in the job, unless there is a nudge telling women, I think you can do this job, it's very difficult for women to go forward, because you're always looking at what cannot be done in the job, whereas men look at what can be done in the job. So it's a total different perspective. So I would say that if we can nudge women, that's what service industries do. We nudge women to say, take up new roles, come and join our organization. So lot of nudging happens in service industries. That is one thing. The other thing that is done in service industries is mentoring. So there are a lot of every woman, because we want to grow the number of women in the organization, there will be mentors who are senior leaders in the organization. So it's not only the women who represent themselves, the men also represent the women. The senior men will represent the women. What I have done in my organization, so I'm very proud to say that in the 2,500 people that we have hired, 42% are women. And I have 50% in leadership. So if I look at my leadership, 50% are women. And if I look at vice presidents and above, 55% are women. And that did not come by chance. So what we do is we make sure that there is strong candidature of women in every role that we hire. Strong candidature. It's not just some resume coming and you reject it. The probability for the woman to get the job must be equal to that of a man. These are the things that normally, service industries do. And the other thing is make sure that you give flexibility at the mid-level of senior leaders, because that is when there'll be life changes like marriage, kids, everything. Therefore, give the flexibility that the woman wants, or the male wants too. It's not just for women, but more for women, so that they don't give up the job. Most of the time, because of family pressures, a woman gives up the job. We have mapped situations where there is a possibility for a woman to give up a job, and we intervene early. And when women are on maternity leave, we give them all the accesses, etc., so that they can keep in touch with what is happening. That's another best practice that service industries do, so that they don't feel lost. And some women say, now it's too long, I don't want to come back. So these things we try and avoid. But still we have attrition of women leaving, and there's a lot of demand today for women executives and women leaders, which is good for us.
So absolutely, Pankaj. I mean, one of the thoughts which you shared that everybody needs that flexibility. I think when we give the flexibility to men also, I think that is a step that, for the society as a whole. I mean, it's not just about the woman having the flexibility. If there's a good chance that her husband or other male members at her in her family also have equal flexibility, that's then sometimes the burden of this PTA meeting, taking the child to the doctor, sometimes it will fall on them. So I think companies providing that flexibility to men is good for the society. It may not immediately benefit their own work environment, but that is something which is good for the society and for the next generation of leaders. Your comments regarding the some of the policies that the government needs to address, I think that is something that we will as a chamber give in writing to the government like the 1948 act that you mentioned. And I think one of the areas that based on what Lata had also mentioned before you is, I think BCIC now the time has come for us to actually help our SME members also recruit more women. It is good for them because there is a large skill gap that they always talk about, shortage of good skilled talent. So I think that is a role at BCIC we will look to contribute more to.
Yeah.
And of course,
so one or two questions have come, Meera. Is there time for that? One or two questions have come on chat. Yeah.
Yes, please. I will just read them out. First one is, how do we ensure that we are creating a level playing field for women in manufacturing? I'll also read the second one in the interest of time. Do you think there are certain jobs which can only be done by man in manufacturing industry or some other industry?
So let me answer the second question first. I don't think there is a job that is designed to be done by man. A job that's designed to be done by a human or a robot. So it can be automated or it can be done by a human. I firmly believe, because I worked in manufacturing, in service industry, in banks, there is no such job. I just want to illustrate that a 17-year-old girl who is 40 kilos weight, she took, the license for, what do you call, the truck license for driving a truck. And I just saw her on some video and felt very proud. License for driving that heavy truck, 40-year-old girl. So I don't think there is any, because we always compare physical strength is a requirement for working in manufacturing. That's a total myth. It is a bias. You don't need physical strength. You need the physical strength. And now today, any job anybody can do, even a person with disability can do. I'm not saying even, because that is what we think. If somebody is on a wheelchair, we assume they cannot do a lot of jobs. So persons with disability, women and men can do, but persons with disability, we have to give a level playing field. So what I mean by level playing field is that, suppose there are people with 3 different heights and they're trying to watch a football match. Now, one thing is that you give a stool, because so that they can watch the football match very clearly. And for all 3 different people who have 3 different heights, you give the same stool. What will happen? The person who's tallest now can see the football match much better than the other 2 people. That's equality. However, if you give the stool that matches the height of the person, so that all 3 of them come to the same height and they can watch the match with the same intensity, that is called as giving a level playing field. So if I need help, if I can't see properly, then I must be given a visual aid that will help me to see the screen very well. But that's my requirement. But if you tell me, no, you build glasses and you see with the glasses, that is not level playing field. So it is giving the opportunity for people to perform at their best in the environment that they're working, to perform to their capability. That is giving a level playing field. And I think we need to look at what a person wants to understand what is the level playing field that is needed. So that's what is critical when we think about having no bias at all.
Yeah, so it should not be a one size fits all approach. It should be depending on the needs and requirements of their own challenges as well as the work they want to pursue.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Pankajam. It's been very enlightening. I think the example that you just gave of equity is going to stay etched in our minds. That illustration has really brought a lot of clarity. So thank you so much, and we look forward to having you contribute again to the initiatives that we take as BCIC in the coming year. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity and good luck to the next speakers. Thank you. Bye.
So now we have the panel discussion scheduled. So Rupa, you can take it over from here.
Thank you, Ira. Thank you, Pankajam Madam, for such an inquisitive address. I now invite all the panelists for the panel discussion. The panel discussion is moderated by Dr. Augustus Azaria. A brief introduction. Dr. Augustus has more than 2 decades of experience in the human resource function. He has gained deep understanding of the constantly changing business and is regarded as a subject matter expert and thought leader in people strategy. He is credited with setting up an employer brand that supported IBM's growth in India. He has held various leadership roles in IBM India Human Resources. He also serves on the boards and committees of NASSCOM, CII, Global Workforce Management, Indian Society for Training and Development. Dr. Augustus is also the chairman of the Human Resource and Women Empowerment Expert Committee and is an ardent supporter of diversity in workplace. I now hand over the stage to Dr. Augustus. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Rupa, and truly delighted to be here and here on a Wednesday afternoon. And, both Lata and Pankajam ma'am truly set the stage for this panel discussion. And I must say that the last example of the level playing field, Pankajam ma'am, was just brilliant. And I've made copious notes of all that you have spoken, and I will definitely be using some of this in wherever I am asked to speak on or comment on. Thank you again for enriching this program and for being a great mentor to various women and as well as an inspiration. With that, the Manufacturing Expert Committee truly deserves accolades for having put together this program. And thank you very much for also partnering with the Women's Empowerment, Leadership and HR Expert Committee of the Bangalore Chamber of Commerce. My sincere thanks to you. And we are here this afternoon to listen to some true experiences of leaders out here drawn from different sectors of the industry, and for us to continue the discussion on gender diversity in manufacturing. The format is going to be very simple in the sense that I will introduce the participants and we will, of course, go into a context setting. And then as the panelists speak, I'm sure they are going to bring in a lot of thoughts in your mind. And please go and post your thoughts, questions, chat comments in the chat box out there. And towards the end of the session, we will definitely have some time for Q&A. And we will address what you put out there in the chat box. So without much ado, let me introduce our 4 panelists here. They are a cracker of a panel. I have K.R. Shamsundar, who's the DGM HR for SEG Automotive. And Sham comes with more than 20 years of industry experience. He's an expert in leadership development and has produced remarkable change in the corporate in meeting organizational goals, specifically when it comes to women's empowerment and leadership. He specializes in change management, transformation, and employee engagement and corporate breakthrough. And he creates a very high-performing team. He's a HR professional with a very versatile industry exposure in sectors from manufacturing to IT, healthcare, consumer durables, and telecom. And we are truly delighted to have you here, Shamsundar. Thank you for your time and your expertise this afternoon. And then we have Anuradha closer home. She is also a very active member of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce and has contributed immensely. in the area of women empowerment and leadership too in the past. So thank you, Anuradha, for being here. And Anuradha is responsible for power strategy optimization for her company, and she has handled critical procurement and Six Sigma projects. And Anuradha is also the co-chair of the Energy, Environment and Water Expert Committee of BCIC. She is very articulate, deep expertise, and passion for bringing about equality in a world that sees us very differently. Thank you very much, Anuradha. And we have Uma Reddy. Uma Reddy is, if I may call it, a woman who has been highly accomplished, okay? And going back many years, okay, she's a first-generation technocrat and entrepreneur in manufacturing. When I heard her first, she said that the first job that she joined was in manufacturing, and then she started her own business out there in making these transformers, all right? And it was, again, a very male-dominated business. But if you see that she has been part of policy-making bodies, she has been with the Prime Minister's Council for MSMEs, and she has also presented many papers across the world in France, Germany, China, Spain, and so many other countries. Notable among them is that she has been a resource person for programs of the Asian Productivity Organization in Tokyo. Now, with all that, she also runs her own business. And she's part of the United Nations Development Program and various awards. And one of those notable awards, of course, is the Rajyotsava Award in 2005 for her contribution to society. She is, like a lot of us, on the board of many expert committees from the Federation of Karnataka Chambers of Commerce to various others, okay? And we are truly delighted to have Uma Reddy here and to hear Uma Reddy's rich experience and learn from what she has to share. Last but not least, Meera Venkat. Meera Venkat is based in Bangalore, but I see her literally all across the country and sometimes abroad too. And she works as a strategy advisor to leading organizations. And as far as I know, Meera, she has been a person who has been in the forefront of promoting women, of standing beside them, of enabling public policy, of meeting various CEOs, CHROs, and CPOs, creating forums where these C-level executives come together and debate upon the challenges that are facing and how to find solutions to day-to-day business challenges that women face. She has been chairperson of, she is the chairperson of We Lead, beg your pardon, and the World Women Economic Forum. I know her since the time she was chairperson of the Indian Society for Training and Development and Learning. And of course, she has written and co-authored many articles and magazines. And she does all this in between playing golf. So welcome, Meera, and thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. And I'm not going to take any more time, but I have to spend just 2 more minutes to give you some thoughts, about gender equity in manufacturing, right? Gender diversity in manufacturing. And I read a book, and this book was very insightful to me. And in this book, and it's a true story, okay? And this is about India, and it's about a group of women who come to the city of Chennai, okay? And they have come there because they found jobs in the local factory out there. So the factory has given them jobs, okay? And they run into difficulty. So we're looking at the social milieu here, and then we will look at the professional milieu. The social impact here is that as they came into this big, large city, they find it difficult to find rental accommodation because landlords are unable to give or are hesitant to give rental accommodation to women, and in this case, probably single unmarried, who are looking to build their professional career. And also these women work night shifts. It makes it all the more difficult for the landlord to give them the rental accommodation. In spite of it, they overcome that limitation and challenge and find accommodation. The next is acceptance. In the workplace or outside the workplace, how are you being accepted? All right. You just have to go there and work and come back home, well, there is acceptance. There are team meetings, there are dinners, there are parties and things like that. So how do I get accepted in a party? Is it okay for me to have that beer or wine and things like that? Okay, and if yes, how much of it? All right. So this is about acceptance too, and the unconscious bias that creeps in there, because those are personal preferences. Then the other acceptances, as they're walking from the factory or the bus stop to their home, there is this tea shop where the factory employees generally congregate and have some talk. Now, these women feel very excluded. Why can't they sit there on the bench and have a cup of tea? What is this exclusive club that is out there? All right. So they feel excluded from this. Okay. Acceptance once again. Then representation. Now, if they have a grievance in the factory, who are they being represented by? Union leaders who are men. This is the social system that we have out there in the manufacturing industry, and not just to pick on manufacturing, but across most sectors. All right. This is the reality. And with that, I would like to invite Meera to throw some light, okay, and share her experiences on gender diversity in manufacturing. Thank you, Meera.
Thank you so much, Augie. I think I'm audible.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah. I think we had wonderful speakers today. I really was, touched by our previous speaker, the ex-BCIC president. I think I'm going to draw from the storyline what she has spoken. But if you really see, the research shows that the gender diversity benefits in a manufacturing organization through improved ability to innovate, a higher return on equity, and increased profitability, organization can also unleash the full potential of their female workforces by creating a culture where unique strengths thrive. So if you see, Augie, over the past decade, the manufacturing industry has been experiencing an extreme transformation. Historically, if you see, the dangerous factory floor occupied by men, but right now we are fast forwarding into the present where the manufacturing industry is advancing and modernizing, which requires a diversity level of skill set for both men and women. With technology advancement which are happening right now, in the digital manufacturing world, the skill sets demands are pretty changing. The talent, apart from being the key, it is also a shortage, and the manufacturer's top concern have to be an inability to attract and retain the common workforce. So if you really see, women have had a tremendous impact in helping the manufacturers to make a gain in every facet of manufacturing, starting from sustainability to implementing cross-functional teams. If you really look at it, women have also been instrumental in not only developing the cost-saving strategies, technologies, but also leading a way on adopting the Industry 4.0, which I think our previous speaker has also mentioned, and mentoring the young talents, implementing the diversity, equity, inclusion policies, just to name a few. Beyond that, I think a senior leader like how we have right now, they have set a meaningful impact on a very friendly company's culture. They are more likely than men to embrace employee friendly policies and programs. And I have personally witnessed where there are a lot of women leaders in the company, the policies which they implement through are really far better than any other company can get through. If women leaders leave the workforce, at some point of time, you can also see women at all levels in the same company could lose their interest, and it is their more powerful allies and champions. These challenges are facing the companies right now. So I think the companies need to be more what do you say, cautious in making sure that women don't leave the workforce very easily. And there are only two paths ahead if I see clearly. If the company recognizes the scale of these problems, and if they really wanted to help them, they can help the employees to get through this difficult times and also to reinvent the way of work. So making it more flexible and sustainable for everyone. If not, the consequences would be really bad, and definitely somewhere it will, create a negative impact on women who are working. Not only women who are working, but also the economy as a whole. So this moment requires a very very long term thinking. Apart from thinking, we also require a lot of creativity. We also require a strong leadership and a laser focus on value of women in those organizations. So that is one thing which I really wanted to bring across to the table today. Apart from this, transition to the digitalization, I think more we are talking about the automation of plants here. The push of workforce diversity and gender parity, as well as a new, what do you say, generation who are starting right now, that is a Gen Z. They have their careers as digital natives, and they have to be also focused socially and cared very passionately. So these are my thought process in talking about the gender diversity specifically for women as such, Augie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meera. That was so deeply insightful. And yes, I got your notes in terms of the skill sets, the digitalization, and then the centennials who will join the workforce. And I'm going to come back to you on that. We'll hold on to some of those thoughts. And those of you who've been listening to Meera, go ahead and post your comments in the chat box. And as we go and listen to Uma Reddy, who will share her rich experiences with us this afternoon. Thank you, Uma.
Ma'am, you are.
Can you unmute? Yes, you're audible. Thank you. No, you're not audible. Uma, just hang on. We're just trying to see whether you muted here. No. Okay, unmute.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes. Thank you very much.
So I'm gonna just change. I'm just changing my device. Okay, I was on my laptop. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
Just get this in. Yeah. Thank you to BCIC, Mr. Parshuraman, the immediate past president, and Mr. Prakash for having put this together, Women in Manufacturing. I think our earlier speakers really set the tone for this session. What I found very interesting from what both Chitra and Pankajam spoke, and actually would like to take a thread from there, is that we are talking about women in manufacturing, whereas I wear the hat of a women entrepreneur in manufacturing. And, they talked about 12% of women being in the manufacturing arena. And I'd actually like to share that the number of women entrepreneurs is again only 12% of the MSMEs in the country. So within that, if I look at women in manufacturing, within that larger umbrella of 12% of women entrepreneurs, the number is pretty dismal. But because we have a larger number of women entrepreneurs in the service sector, and generally people feel that the service sector is probably a little bit more easier to handle than women in manufacturing, especially shop floors. I will actually share a little bit of how I got into manufacturing. So I was in my final year of engineering when I started my business, and it was again in the service area, in a way that I started with printed circuit board designing more as a hobby.
Because in college you always are looking for pocket money, and that's how I started, looking and doing this printed circuit board designing during my holidays, which we now call it internship. But that time I went to a small enterprise and I started. I liked what I was doing. And when I got paid a certain amount, I felt, why should I do for somebody else and get paid this X amount? Why don't I do it for myself and get the X plus Y amount? And so that's how I went about to a public sector unit, Bharat Electronics. And this was the pre-digital days, because this was in 1984 when we didn't have PCs. So I went to Bharat Electronics. I said, I want to start this designing of printed circuit boards. And they kind of guided me in the process, but took me 9 months to actually go about setting up my enterprise. Because to get a license, it was not at the click of a button, because there were no buttons that time. And we had to keep going to the Industries and Commerce Department, and it had to go to Delhi to get your license. We have come a long journey from then, and now it's much easier for anybody, for any MSME to start an enterprise. All the more for women also, because it's that much less. But in those days, okay, when I started doing this designing work, I finished my engineering. I said, I got a job in Kirloskar Systems and said, should I take up a job? And I said, I liked what I was doing. I was passionate about what I was doing. And so fighting all odds at home, business was definitely not a very, very positive word in those days, especially with, traditional families. Had to fight because I had to get collateral security for my loan, all those various headaches. And continued to get into manufacturing. So I knew how to do designing of printed circuit boards. I moved into printed circuit board assemblies, started as job work, and then went on to manufacture transformers and coils in 90s. As you know, product life cycles are very short in electronics. Obsolescence levels are very high. I had to keep changing my product line in a way, and I continue to do transformers and coils for electronic and industrial application. So the one difference that I thought is that as a woman, let me employ more women. So 80% of my staff are women, both at the senior level and at the bottom, at the operator level, where they actually do the manufacturing setup. So that is what brings in a huge difference when you have more women entrepreneurs. We just have 12% of women entrepreneurs, and there is a need for larger number of women entrepreneurs, not necessarily in engineering, because you find women entrepreneurs across all sectors. You have them in food processing, you have them in apparels, you have large number in handicrafts, and we have a large number in self-employment who are not part of this ecosystem, because most of them are, as you call it, in the informal business. They're self-employed. They kind of have an income generation activity, hardly employ anybody. Even if they do 1 and 2, and so they're not part of this framework. So there are a large number of women, and women per se will employ more women. If that be so, then what is it that we as women can do to promote more women entrepreneurs? Because the more women entrepreneurs, then there are a larger number of women who are working with them. Yes, there are women in the service sector and there are women in the manufacturing sector, very few in trading, because who get into the retail business. So I think in manufacturing, there needs to be a lot more support mechanisms for them to think about investment, because that's where a larger bottleneck comes. The larger investment in manufacturing setup, whether it's plant and machinery, whether it's a food processing business or whether it's an engineering business, there is a larger support system required, or a good ecosystem which will support women to get into entrepreneurship. So I think that was my first few thoughts which I wanted to share, and then as we go along. Dr. August.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. And, while you were talking to me about, talking to us about the collateral and things like that, there is that proverbial glass ceiling, right, that you had to break through. And I'll hold that thought and come back to you in a short while. And
Sure.
just to bring about a slight change here, thank you, is I want to bring Shyam Sundar, and Shyam comes with tremendous experience, but especially he has made certain changes in his organization and the corporate world. And I would like him to share with us his experiences. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Augustus. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, please carry on.
Okay. So first of all, thank you. Thanks for the entire organizing team for giving an opportunity to share my thoughts on gender diversity in manufacturing. The earlier speakers, especially Lata and Pangajam, have spoken really well about the women empowerment and the need of the unconscious bias, why the gender diversity in manufacturing industry is very less. And also the speakers have spoken now very well narrated about the current situation. See, let me just put across my speech into two parts. One is what had happened in the past and what we can look at for future. So the moment I come to know about this topic, manufacturing, the gender diversity in manufacturing, I was just looking back my own career. I have, as you know, that worked in different industries. So manufacturing, I started. Then I moved into different industries like consumer durables, telecom. I was working as a sales HR, IT. Then I come back to manufacturing again in my last 20 years experience. When I look back, yes, I realized the industry which has very less gender diversity is in manufacturing. So which so far we never thought of looking into the details or the reasons why this was like this. Anyway, I also just Googled it and I found an interesting thing that in 2018 the Forbes, the company called Forbes, has published a report saying that those days in the manufacturing industries, the women employees have undergone a lot of harassment and hostile, and also they have a lot of dangerous working conditions. But unfortunately, what had happened, neither the victim nor the co-workers have openly talked about this outside. And maybe if they've talked about this and protested about all these things, the situation may be different after 40, 50 years now. But this was not spoken. And this is what the myth created, that women employ our candidates do not want to work in a manufacturing industry because this is the industry where they don't find the role attractive. And also they also have the fear. So when I join a manufacturing industry, I'm supposed to work among the men workers. Yes, of course, yes, if you are taking a manufacturing industry, the percentage of men workers is more than the women workers. Some cases it be very, very huge marginal difference. So this is what the women employees hesitant to work in the manufacturing industries. And also, I was talking to some of my known women colleagues. So what the interesting thing, what did they say is, they say that the manufacturing industry is having a lack of promotional opportunities for the women. I don't know why this kind of thoughts is going around in the women mind. There are lack of promotional opportunities, and also they quoted that there is a poor working relationship. So which to some extent I agree, and this can be addressed only with a proper training of the managers. Many in the male dominant factory setup, it's very difficult or it's important to train the men workers how to behave with women employees, especially even the managers also. The managers are well-educated managers, but when you talk to the women employee, he doesn't know how to carry himself. Sometimes it is it's going beyond a limit. So this is one of the reasons women are not interested. Women are not interested to work in the manufacturing industry. And most important thing is a work-life balance. Yeah, nowadays this is a thought of this is the most important factor for anybody to choose an organization. not only for the women employees, now even for the male candidates are looking at whether now I have work from home opportunities to work. And those days, there is no concept of work from home. And you look at the situation, how the women employees would be interested to join a manufacturing industry. Those days, women going to a job itself is very difficult. More than that, no, if they are no going to a manufacturing industry, there are a lot of restrictions by the family members and relatives. No, don't join a manufacturing industry. It is not for women. So that is what the thought process among the women candidates not to select the manufacturing industries. And okay, so before going to the next topic, one interesting data I would like to share. If you look at among the women candidates, only 15% of the women are aware that the industry, that the manufacturing industry is also allowing to take care of the family and personal commitments of the women. And another thing is, nearly 72% of women in manufacturing believe they are underrepresented to the organization leadership team. This is again one of the point to be spoken. Many industries, though there is a women employees are there, but if you look at the leadership team, there will be very less women in the leadership team, or most of the time it will be no women in the leadership team. And 87% of the women believe that standards of performance in the manufacturing roles are higher for women than the men. So this is also one of the reasons women not interested to build their career in manufacturing. So this is what happened, Augustus. Now, so I will just park now, and I will just come back with what can be done to increase this in the industries, and what is the role of a leader to promote women in the manufacturing industries.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shyam, for that. And I'll come back to you on the leaky pipeline that is there, in the leadership area. It is off. Okay. Sorry, there was an echo here. All right. So I don't want to keep you away from Anuradha any longer. And Anuradha, it's so nice to see you here. And I also recall fondly the days in the Women Empowerment Committee a couple years ago, I think. And one of our discussions, I was talking about, moving from a quota to a culture, because quota is not sustainable to grow women, and we need to build culture. So you having been responsible for power strategy in a industry which is so underrepresented by women, we'd like to hear your story. Thank you.
Thank you, Augustus. Thank you, BCIC, for this opportunity. So I was just hearing everybody speak, and I was refreshing into my mind my own career, which started in 2000. So it's been 22 years. And one thing that is striking, especially because I have spent all my years in manufacturing, is that when I joined a power plant, I was one of those lady engineers who would be on the meetings. And even 22 years now down the line, when I have grown, I still see those, very minimum representation. You are at the most one or two in those, discussions. So having said that, I would say that it is for the ecosystem, and it is for us also, partially, that we are responsible for this situation that we are in. So I'll just tell you a small story about myself. Okay, so how I got into manufacturing, and how in certain instances where that bias, unconscious bias, was there, and how myself, I have basically tried to overcome that, and then how I kind of use my experience to mentor women in this industry that I'm working in. So 22 years back when I started my career, I had a postgraduate degree. I was married, and I was looking out for to join an industry and I was very passionate about doing a job. I really thought, as many women, we always looked at a job as more of an economic freedom, because we've always seen mostly, the generation that I came in, where the father was earning, the mother was a housewife. She had a lot to do, but she didn't have that economic freedom. She would look up, she would be last in the family. Everybody's needs, the children's needs are met, and then, her needs would come secondary. So, in that generation, we always felt, and I think that's also important, that we have that economic freedom, right? I should have my money to spend, and that gives you a decision making power in the house. Of course, women are there, as Parshuraman sir always said, they are the CEO of the house. Having said that, in some cases where the decision making is on financial matters, men always take that lead, right? So, and I always believe that, having that financial stability gives you that, that decision making power in all matters of finance. So that's how I took up this job, and I used to find myself on the conference tables, just one woman, and all men talking, and they would not even think of asking what her views are. Many a times I myself have felt that, given that opportunity, I would have taken a little different decision. But I've come from that time where in the first 1-2 years, I have just kept quiet, just heard them, been part of the discussions, but not been able to speak out. To today's date, where when I feel that no, this is not the way it should be done, I would be the first person on that meeting table to jump out and share my thoughts. So as a woman, as a woman leader, I think the point that we should instill, and I agree with Pankajam when she said that, you should tell people that to speak out. I think that's very, very important. Many a times we women have a lot of ideas, but we lack that courage to speak out. So I think the first learning for me is to have confidence in yourself and say it's okay to speak out. I might be wrong in one, which which is quite common. We have the courage to speak out. I do tell people that no, this is what I feel. But I think it's in whichever sector you are in, it's important to speak out your mind. And I say that that's one of those qualities that women leaders or even women employees should build up, as one of those things that, that you find the opportunity to speak out, you please speak out your mind. I think that's very, very important. And that's because you have also been brought up like that, right? That say it's not okay to speak out. It's not okay to be a little loud, not okay to, kind of put a point. Yes, we need to speak out, and we need to speak. We also should learn those skills of speaking it out in the manner that we are able to put across our point, right? So that's important. So having spent entire journey in manufacturing, there are certain unconscious biases that have happened. I'll tell you. So this was my first job where I felt that, people are not even asking me. So then you have matured, you are in a functional role. People want to hear, they want you to do your job, but they think that, there are, in manufacturing, there are certain roles which are not fit for women. So that's an unconscious bias. I'll just give you a story. When there was a position out, and one of my very senior leaders wanted me to take up that position. They said that, you have that right background of handling that position. So you go ahead and take up that. Within the organization, they wanted to move me into a different role. I still recall one of my very senior managers coming up and telling me, I heard, Anuradha, you have been asked to take up this role, but think twice. You have a son, you have a family you need to go back to, and you have a role to play at home. So, so that I call as an unconscious bias that some of us as leaders have. And I agree. It's again the way we have been brought up, right? So we believe that, I mean, for men, we believe that men should be, taking on that role to provide for the woman and make her, comfortable. So that's the mindset that with which men are being brought up, and that carries to the office also. So I very politely told him, sir, I have a good support system at in my house. I stay in a joint family, and as long as a man works, I am ready to provide that time in the office. So and I think I have a passion for that job. So I'm going to take up that role. So the reason why I'm saying this is that even if you are interested, even you are willing to stretch, to take up a new role and learn new things, you would find a kind of resistance from your co-workers because they come from a different background. So that's where it's important. And then this is a learning for me that as a woman and as a man, I think there are two things that we need to learn. The women should not get countered by that kind of, the intent. The intent is very good. As I said, his point was that you have a dual role, so make sure that you are giving enough time to the family, which is right. But that should not form a bias when you are deciding that a woman can do only this. Today, when I talk to many of my colleagues, they say you're putting us to shame because you are traveling more than us. You're traveling more than us because we, as a company, Linde is in 32 locations, and I need to travel to many of those locations. So then that's important that we take up those roles, of course. Otherwise, we will not be able to deliver our best. But these unconscious biases that kind of come into into your decision making. So, it's very important that as women and as a man and as a leaders, we kind of come out of those unconscious bias. We know if we are able to manage, we are able to manage. And then second, the third point I would say is that as an organization, I have seen, the same company I have seen, I've gone to plants. I realized that there was no toilet in one of our air separation plants, very big plant, because they didn't find the need to have a a toilet for a woman, because hardly there were any women visitors coming. So I still recall that I just at the end of the day, when I really wanted to use the washroom, there was no washroom for women. And then there was one washroom where all the men and the drivers, our industry has got a lot of trunking of liquid. So there is a washroom, a toilet for the driver. So I just rushed in and, I used one of those men's toilets and came out. And I still remember that, all the drivers were, and the plant, you can imagine how manufacturing setups are. They realized that, this is something that is important. So the plant manager realized that, yes, there should be a toilet. Similarly, I would say, like, we work for, say, at 10 o'clock in the plant, we are coming out. All said and done, it's our responsibility to take care of the safety. We are responsible for our own safety, as well as an organization. We brought in a lot of systems, like, I could reach up to anybody in the evening and say, like, I'm stuck here, so can you organize a cab for me? So as organizations, we have to look at providing that level playing field. So that's important from an organization perspective. And the third point I would say is that, I again recite another one story, which actually leaves a thought in all of us, is that, this middle managers, they are really good. They are coming from one of those best institutes. They are doing really well in their roles. And then there is a phase in a woman's life when they are married and they are having kids, is that I would say that is that, you are doing 2-3 roles. There is one role which can't be replaced by anybody. I can't leave anybody in the first 8 or 9 months of my child's birth, that I could offset it to kind of give that job to anybody. So that's where in one of my teams, when one of those ladies was leaving, she had made up her mind that she would leave. I said, don't do that. Take up another role, which will allow you to, kind of be doing both your roles. You could work in the evenings, or flexibility around your job, and you can work out of home. So I kind of told her to move into another role, and then for say 8 months or 1 year, and then get back to your main role whenever you want. So I think the candidate did like that idea. She took it up. and then she's still with the organization. So what I feel as an organization is that we should create those level playing fields for the women employees. Especially we lose a lot of talent, and I think, Augustus, you would also agree that, when a lady is getting married and then it's in, the next few years, she has to give a lot of her time to the family. The role of a mother is as important in anybody's life. So that's where organizations need to, bring in more of support systems, like moving women into different roles for a short-term period. And I believe even that role is going to be, useful for the organization. And then they come back to the main role. So these kind of things are very, very important. And then countering yourself, to move your barrier is like, in one of the recent discussions we had with our senior management, they were telling me, is that like, why is there so less of, women in the manufacturing? So I said, yeah, it's not because of the job, it's because of the mindset. There's no job in manufacturing that cannot be done by women, right? It's because of your mindset that you feel that, that job is not for women. So I said, why not, set up an example of a complete facility being run by women? So my senior leadership asked, do you believe that it's possible? It's my dream, So I said, no, it's possible. With 2 women, 3 women doing it, it's equivalent to getting all the women to do the different kind of roles. So it's not. So we as Linde believe we also have targets of, increasing the women workforce. 30 by 30 is our target. And we're doing quite a lot of things in this. So I am leading personally one project where I am converting an existing facility of say 15 people into an all women facility. So it's a mindset. So for example, we get to that, that's going to be a replica for people to follow in other places. So it's only a mindset change that is required. And I think as an organization, we have to do what I still feel is the level playing field, trying to, not make policies which are one fit for all. We need to understand, because women, in leadership roles is a different, it's a different requirement altogether.
And I
Retaining
think,
women in
Anuradha, you also brought up, sorry to interrupt, you also brought up minimum representation and unconscious bias. So I think we're going to hold those thoughts, as we go around. And thank you again, for bringing all those perspectives in. I want to quickly go to, our earlier speaker, Uma Reddy. And Uma, you won accolades and you faced this challenge, right, in terms of the collateral and getting the permission and so on and so forth. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, given the time, I just thought we will all take one minute as a rapid fire before we go into it. So can you quickly help wrap up how you overcome that challenge and the glass ceiling?
Thank you. So 2 points. I'll quickly try and do that. The first one is collateral. And this was at a time when I started my business 38 years ago. And at that point of time, there was only funding from a bank against collateral security. There was no other funding. There was no VC. There was no angel investors. Other than that, we only could go to our friends and relatives and take some money. So I had to go for collateral security, and I just want to kind of bring in the bit of the social environment at that time. So I went to my father because I needed collateral, and he had one small piece of building which he agreed to give it to me. And I could give that to take a very small amount of loan to buy my drafting tables. As I said, it was no PCs. But my mother said no to it. She said that's the only piece of asset that we have. And if you give it to her, she'll get married and go away after she finishes her engineering. And then what happens to our loan? And our building is gone. So I had to do a lot of convincing, both my father, my mother, leave alone the bank manager, to ask to get that collateral security for me to get my loan. Anyway, it did work out and they agreed to give it to me. And that's why I am where I am now. But things are far different in terms of collateral security because there are large number of schemes. Okay, there is the CGT MSME scheme, the banks have Mahila Udyami schemes, there are many schemes. I won't say that all schemes are a perfect, piece of cake work for any entrepreneur, leave alone a women entrepreneur, because there is a huge policy practice gap. But there are various options available. So one important point that I would actually connect with access to finance is networks. We women have these various hats that we wear, be it, the social entrepreneur, be it the family commitment, be it the, entrepreneur ourselves and running our business. We are trying to always perfect that juggling act, and we hardly have any time to be part of any networks, leave alone boys clubs, right? So that's where we lack, because we are running from one to another. So it's very important that women are part of networks. And I largely believe that we should be part of associations. And when you read out, Augustus, about the various associations that I'm part of, I really feel that they've been a great platform for me to be part of networks. I probably haven't got any business directly, an order on transformers, but I believe that it provided me a lot of confidence building, probably made me feel that I'm not alone in this, this business game, and also said, okay, they have the same problems as I have. So I've been part of many networks and started with women networks. We have, I'm part of an organization which I founded called eMerge, which is an association of women in technology, business, profession, and services. It's nice to be part of smaller networks like women networks, but organizations such as these help promote access to finance, probably be able to refer, also support in policy with the government, in ensuring that there is a policy implementation process. At the same time, also part of the mainstream organizations like FKCCI, the Karnataka Chamber of Commerce Industry. We have organizations like BCIC, IFICI, CIA. It's also important that women entrepreneurs per se need to be part of networks, because that provides you both in terms of providing the network to find out how others are able to manage their find solutions and find resolve their issues, and also to find role models. Because I believe that's the third point that I want to say is, women entrepreneurs, we tend to get complacent at a certain level of our business. We feel that we are at a comfort zone where we are able to manage our business, we are able to manage our home and our other social activities, that we don't tend to grow beyond. So you really see there are very far and few women entrepreneurs at the medium scale enterprises or large enterprises. So I feel that such networks also provides them the confidence to see somebody else, oh, she can do it, I can do it. And that is what I would like to share quickly.
Thank you.
These 3 points about access to finance and network.
So you covered it. You covered it all. Thank you so much, Uma. And for those women out there who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs or who are on that journey, with your permission, Uma, I would request them to also get in touch with you, look for mentoring opportunities, networking, and improve visibility. Thank you again, Uma, for that.
Thank you.
And Meera, you spoke about skill sets. You spoke about the laser focus in this area. You spoke about value digitalization. But all that apart, I want to ask you this question: where does mentoring and coaching fit in here? And of course, anything else you'd like to add? You have about a couple minutes in the interest of time. Thank you. Is Meera on? Okay, Meera seems to have dropped off. I'm going to pass that question then to Anu. Same question, Anu. We will do this in about 2 minutes in the interest of time. Your experience of having initiated coaching and mentoring, especially where you were talking about those women who need that break for marriage and they need to come back. There is no erosion of skills over there. I think there is an appreciation of skills. It's just not that because you had a child, because you had a family, doesn't mean that you are any lower in that talent ladder. Okay, so how did you focus and address that issue? Thanks.
So Augustus, just to tell you, I myself had those, challenges. So every time, I see somebody in the organization, or even not being in an organization, even we meet so many people in society as women leaders. I think it's important for us to inculcate in every woman when we speak or when we talk to them on a thing, is to not give up just because you're a woman, right? And then in an organization, it's important that we, as information providers, or we sit on a bench where we are talking about strategy, we are talking about, I think it's important for us to talk about the need for, making that feasible in an organization, and especially mentoring goes a long way. So we do have this, system, many corporates, as have this mentoring system where they kind of, put you onto a mentor. So when I mentor people, even for example, I mentor a girl, right? It's a different thing that I say. I said, work on your career, talk, use the soft skills, use your, have an idea of your career progression. Similarly, when I mentor some of these men, I tell them that don't carry that unconscious bias. Think that, how do you evaluate when you have two candidates, who's in their, late 20s. Don't bring that unconscious bias into yourself that, okay, this girl, if I'm going to employ this girl, she might get married and she might leave the job, or she might be carrying and, she'll have to take this 8-month or 10-month break. Don't bring that. Evaluate them onto the same level, and then you look at that additional hand holding that you need to do for those 8 or 9 months, so that she is back into the organization. So it's all it's about mentoring, that it's not only mentoring women to be stronger, it's also important that we mentor men and
Right.
tell them that how they can play a role in the organization.
Absolutely.
Sometimes this you would see in organization, oh no, that candidate is like really good, we want her, but she's in her prime. She told me during an interview that she's going to, she's going to get married. So so those are things that are that kind of stops us from getting the talent into the organization.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why we come to culture, right? To ensure that we have the right culture of inclusivity, and it's also that unconscious bias, so men have to be sensitized to a lot of those things. So thank you so much, Anuradha, for those inputs. And lastly, your 2 minutes, Shyam. And you spoke about promotional opportunities. Now, usually we have a slate, and in that slate we say, if there is an opportunity, we go and put the names on that slate of women. Did you have something like that, in terms of promoting promotional opportunities for women? Or what was your plan or practice? Thank you,
Yes,
Shyam.
Augustus, yeah. So before that, I would also like to highlight what are the things we are doing in SCG to foster the gender diversity in the organization. So as you know that SCG was part of Bosch and carved out from Bosch in 2018. And it's become an important and critical for us to maintain and sustain the benefits and the culture being followed in Bosch. So SCG as an organization, see for us, SCG, if you look at women empowerment, it is nothing but to hear the viewpoints of women and promote the culture of inclusivity. So we have various initiatives and measures how we can attract the women talent into the organization. But to be very frank, I can't say that we are successful in attracting the women candidates, but we are not giving up. Though we are able to improvise the gender diversity in the last 5 years, but still, if you look at in our main factory, we have 6% of gender diversity. And if you look at only the white collars, we have only so 6% is within the white collar employees. But if you include the blue collar employees, it's just 2%. However, what we did, we have an extended workbench, which we call third-party manufacturing unit, which is in Hosur and Hasan. So we made it very clear that we will onboard only the women employees. So we made the basic strong and put a lot of policies in place with the help of the third-party manufacturing organization. And with that, we could attract the women candidates. Now, if you look at, 75% of the workforce are women. So which we have started just almost last 2 years. We started onboarding people, especially Hosur. If you take, it is a new setup where we still have 75% of the workforce for women, and even Asan, if you take, it is a quite older facility, but there also we could manage around 75 to 80% of the workmen. The workforce are women. So some of the initiatives what we are taking inside the factory. So one is, of course, you talked about the promotional opportunities. See, we made it very clear and communicated to all our employees what are the required skills and competencies for any promotion. We are not hiding it. We are very transparent in communicating that any employee, whether it is a male or female, if you have a potential, you have the opportunities to grow in the organization. So we normally visualize their career inside the organization, and we will also put across which are the various steps to be followed, what are the time period is required, which is very clearly communicated to the entire workforce, so that it's very clear. And tomorrow there should not be a room for the people to talk. No, this is the women deserving the promotion, but the organization taken a policy that not to promote women, and they have given the promotion to someone else. So we are very clear.
Shyam Sundar, thank you. So typically your program that you've initiated in terms of promotion, in terms of talent acquisition, is seeing results clearly, right? And overall, there is a contribution of about 12% we see across the industry. So I hope that we will get beyond this 12% in the days and years to come with innovative programs that leaders like you are able to drive. Thank you so much, Shyam, for that input. And with that, I think we have run out of time. I'm not sure if we have more time for even Q&A. I encourage you to go and post your questions on chat, and you can remain rest assured that we will answer that to you. And also feel free to connect to any one of our panelists out here. So we have Shyam Sundar, we have Anuradha, Uma Reddy, Dr. Meera Venkat. So feel free to network, connect, improve visibility. And to our great set of panelists, thank you so much. This program couldn't have happened if not for the foresight of the office bearers of BCIC. And I have to acknowledge the mentor out here, who is Murli, along with Mr. T.R. Parasuraman, Mr. G. Prakash, who's the chairman of Manufacturing Expert Committee, BCIC, as well as Dr. Devarajan. And most importantly, the person who held it all together, stitched it together, curated it along with various people, Ira Gilani. Thank you so much. And our dear audience, appreciate your patience, your understanding, as well as your feedback and input. Take care and stay safe. Handing this back to Rupa and Ira.
Thank you.
Augustus. Over to you, Ira.
Yeah, thank you, Augustus. Thank you, all the wonderful panelists. It was really, I think it's given us a lot of food for thought, and it will only strengthen BCIC's efforts towards gender diversity in manufacturing. So I know we are running a little bit late, but we should be able to complete on time. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the next speaker, Mahima Kulkarni from Kenametal, and she's going to be sharing her experiences. So Mahima Kulkarni is Manager Value Engineering at Kenametal. She has over 20 years of professional experiences in the field of project management, product development, technical trainings. Her current role involves doing a deep dive analysis of Kenametal products and look for value enhancement. She's been awarded a US patent for product development. She's very passionate about diversity and inclusion. She's core member of the Regional Diversity and Inclusion Council at Kenametal and working towards building a supportive and inclusive environment. She's engaged in NGOs like Catalyst, Women's STEM Students, and NGOs Parsha, which supports underprivileged children. I think other than this also there is a lot more about her that is not captured here. She shared with me how she's actually worked with NTTF in her earlier years, a role which is also considered very difficult for most men, let alone women. So she has a very interesting journey. a very enriching, very powerful journey, and we look forward to hearing from her. So welcome, Mahima, over to you.
Yeah, hello, Ira. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thanks to BCIC and the team here for providing this opportunity. I would like to share my the last 20 years journey about in manufacturing. So I'm currently working with Kennametal as a program manager, as Ira said, and it has been like we are into wear resistant solutions. Kennametal makes tools out of tungsten carbide, and also we make special purpose machines. So currently my role is more into adding value to our products. And coming to my journey so far, I would just want to share one quick. Is my screen visible? Ira?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So I just want to start. I just wanted to show this slide. Like I am actually from North Karnataka, studied in a government girls' school from Bijapur. Now it is called Vijaypur, and I was actually like I think the government schools provide more opportunities. Like I was a girl guide. We had a lot of we used to have a lot of different activities in school, and also I was in the school band. And post that, I opted to join NTTF, which is Netto Technical Training Foundation. It's a 4 years diploma in tool and die making, and I moved out of Vijaypur. One of my cousins told me about this. And post that, I worked in G Plast, which is again, I was in Bangalore for my final year training, and from there I moved on to Coimbatore, which was my first job. And from there, I worked with the Government Tool Room and Training Center, which is a Karnataka government initiative, and the GTTI, which is a GD Naidu Technical Training Institute. So these have been my roles before I got into Kennametal in 2005. So as a professional journey, I moved from a tool room trainee to an instructor, then designer and an engineer, and currently a manager. So in Kennametal, which I've spent like more than 15 years now, I started as a designer, moved on to become a team lead, and then became a product engineer where we were developing products. So I received a patent, as she said. And as you could see, like I actually opted for a training job, which made me travel across India. We had more than 50 travels. And most of the trainings I did, I was the only woman. And also I managed post that a team of young designers, again, all of them being men. And currently I'm working as a program manager, value engineering. I was featured in the Kennametal social media in 2020. I'm a member on the council. And one thing I would like to talk would be like, I completed my post-graduation in digital manufacturing just to keep myself updated. After 15 years of break from my studies, I completed my graduation in 2005 and now 2020. And this is my family, and I have 2 children. So maybe I would like to stop here and a little bit talk on the different things that I as a woman I felt I have overcome. So it's like I chose to study this NTTF, which is in way back in 94 to 98, and I was maybe the 4th student there, though it was started in 60s. And I'm quite proud about that. I got through it's a very tough selection criteria, and I was able to clear both on the technical as well as the maths and science. There was a practical test also that they conduct, and I completed the training. So post that, like I worked in the production in the NTTF Industries. And I opted to go out of Bangalore as there was a job in Coimbatore, though most of my other friends, like we were 5-6 from Dharwad Center. But I opted to go to Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore, though it was actually most of them opted to be inside in Karnataka itself, though it was a new language and I had to stay away from my parents. And this was way back in 99 when there was no email, there was no phone. It was just a landline we had to work with. And I really want to thank my parents here who trusted me and let me go out and explore myself. And after I got married, and even the family was supportive, I had a child, and there was an opportunity that I started working, and I was working with the Kennametal Shared Services, which was like global engineering. We were started working for our parent company Kennametal, and there were opportunities to go to US. So we were around 5-6 of us, and rest of them were kind of considered to go except me. And then I was wondering why they are not even asking me or considering me for, a travel outside. And I made up my mind to go and ask my manager then, and it was a clear unconscious bias. He just thought I have a 2-year-old and I may not be interested. But after that, it was readily agreed. So I think it's very important, if a woman think they can do, they should actually go and ask. Otherwise, today industry has to still change and come out of this unconscious bias as many men hold, which most of the other senior colleagues just some time back spoke. And other thing I feel I overcome as a woman was like on the travel part. So I traveled across India also, as it was a job opportunity to move further in the career, and I thought maybe I should take it. Though many were hesitant, it was like 6 to 8 days of traveling every month, and it will be a new location. And again, it was like a trainings we have to conduct to our customers. So I have traveled to across India, all industrial locations, and and the one thing I would like to suggest here is, initially the first time I traveled, like the flight got delayed and I came back almost like 11:30. And I was actually hesitant to come back from airport to house, because everywhere you see only male drivers. Of course, there are just no woman drivers, and I was hesitant. Then I actually went and asked my manager, what do I do? How do I overcome this? I'm not feeling very safe to come with some strange person at night. And he suggested that there is our own cab service. We have like authorized cab service at the office. You could use that whenever you see a late night flight. And that put me into very comfortable position. Post that, I kept on traveling almost 3 years, more than 50-60 travels, right from Gurgaon to Chennai to Trichy, all across Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, Nasik, Nagpur, Aurangabad. Everywhere I have actually traveled, which gave a very good experience for me. And I would like to point out few, what I think can help to improve the gender diversity. So one thing is, the manufacturing as an industry has to uplift the brand image. Today, it is not seen with the young generation. I mean, the Gen Z doesn't look at it like very attractive. So I think as a BCIC or even the trade unions, everybody has to kind of give a more, that manufacturing is an interesting and a good industry. And I see that, when we look in manufacturing, there are less health issues, I would say, because it's not a sedentary work. You keep moving. People are always active, and I think that's a strength. And also the canteens that most manufacturing have, which gives you a healthy and a hygienic food, which is again another strength. And it is a backbone to economy. We are actually creating stuff. It's not like everything virtual. We can see, when I into product development, I can see the product, I can see it working physically. So which I think is very, very good part of this industry, which has to be kind of made known to more and more of the youngsters. And specifically coming to how to attract more women, I think it has to start at a high school for young girls. I would think, why not make like a girls' day, wherein industry opens up its doors, like fix a day in a year, where everybody, all girls can, those high school children can come there and see for themselves what it means to do manufacturing. Give them some hands-on, let them speak to the people who are already working, because this first-hand information is very important, because the next generation doesn't want to just listen to their parents, or they want to decide for themselves. So for that, they should know, what are the opportunities available. Then that will help them create, or develop passion or interest into that. As someone was pointing out, that it's important to have that passion for you to really do well in the industry. And another suggestion that I have for the recommendation would be like, I read this Indira Nui's book, where it talks about care. Currently, industry thinks, or most people think, care equal to woman, which is, I think, has to change. Care has to be a equal responsibility for both the genders. And for that, and now also not only just the child care, even the senior care, which people have to handle as they grow senior into their age. So I think there has to be, the corporates have to think of care as a central aspect, and there has to be, they can connect with either hospitals or NGOs, and it should be made more easily accessible. And also, men also should get a share to do their job. It's like, for example, now in Kanametal, we do have a daycare for women. But there are a couple of men who have like a 3-year-old kid, wanted to use it. They said, my wife company, it is not there. Can I get my child? I want to take care. She did the first 1 year. But the answer was no, Factory Act doesn't allow this, and we can't do anything. So I think that such amendment should come where you are actually providing that opportunity for men also. At least there's a lot of change in the new generation which wants to support. I think that has to be kind of changes in the policy have to be done. And the one more point that I have is like, for a woman to work or anybody to work, there is also a need for a good ecosystem. In the sense, you need like a trained cook or a trained housekeeping staff or a trained nanny. Currently, these jobs are not really that professional. They just start doing. I think, there has to be some short-term courses or a professionalism has to be put into such kind of roles. Again, there are more women into this. It will help them as well, and it will get a little more organized. I think that would help the overall more women getting into the workforce and more dependable with their support staff at home. And lastly, what I think is, as I think the first ma'am, Lata ma'am pointed out, that you have to counsel the family, especially when see, the parents are always supportive. Once they get into the marriage and the family, that's when the problems start for most women. So I would think at the time of marriage, why not like kind of do a counseling to the in-laws? Because there may be a lot of, I know some of my friends keep telling, nobody in their family has worked. She is the first woman to work. So then the family doesn't know, what it means to work, because the mother-in-law do not have an experience on that. So in that way, I think then there has to be some, more professional counseling kind of done along with the marriage rituals, that then they take the woman career also seriously. They understand what it means to work and not expect again everything that regularly expected from women. So these are some things what I wanted to share, Ira. Yeah, I wanted to go past because of time.
Absolutely wonderful, Mahima. Especially, your thoughts on National Girls' Day. I think Girls' Day, actually taking them. I think you also pointed out that you have to take them. They will not listen to somebody telling them. And I think that is a point that has been reiterated throughout. Lata also mentioned that they have to have an interest. And I think all we can do is we have to show them the opportunities which are there. Pankajam also said, don't get stuck by limitations, look at the opportunities. So I think you are a very good role model of someone who has done that. So I'd like to, thank you on behalf of BCIC and all the participants. It's been very informative, and we will look forward to your support during the year as BCIC continues to help SMEs also develop some of the best practices that companies such as yours have. So thank you very much once again, Mahima, for taking out the time.
Yeah, thanks, Ira. Thanks, BCIC.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is, I'm very, very excited to listen to our next speaker. Our last speaker for the day, also the youngest, but with several accolades to her name. So our next speaker is Miss Sandhya Rasaktala, production in charge at Zawar Group of Mines at Hindustan Zinc. A mining engineer, Sandhya has been a part of Hindustan Zinc since 2018 when she joined as a graduate engineer training. Like I mentioned, she has a lot of accolades to her name. She is the first lady in India to receive the second class manager's certificate of competency in the unrestricted category from Directorate General of Mines Safety, DGMS, in 2020. She is also the first woman in India to be appointed as underground mine manager in Hindustan Zinc's Zawar mine, following her clearance of the first class mines manager certificate of competency in the unrestricted category. So welcome, Sandhya. Really looking forward to hearing about your journey.
Hello everyone, very good evening. Present team over there, and thanks Ira for my introduction. Myself Sandhya, presently I am working as assistant manager in Hindustan Zinc Limited at Udaipur region, and I belong to Warangal region, and that is in Telangana state. And coming to my family background, my father works for Singareni and he's a Singareni employee, and my mother she's an housewife. Hailing from the mining background, I was born and brought up from mining region. So that made me interest to choose mining as my career. And after my 12th, I was interested to choose computer science. And my uncle suggested me, telling that mining is good for career, you can choose. And at the same time, my family, friends, and other neighbors also discouraged me, telling that mining is only for men. As you see, your father also works in mines, so it is very tough job, like you can't choose mining. And at that moment I thought that why can't I choose mining, and I took it as a challenge. And I enrolled in Kottagudem schools of mine. And again, the second challenge is that in college also, my college, in 2014 we were in second batch. In 2013 the first batch was started, and in 2014 it was second batch. And after entering in college also, in college also I faced many questions that as a female, what you're going to do in mining industry. And there also, like, they discouraged us. And there again, the college management has given us a special chance also, because further you can't get any opportunities in mining. And they said that you can change your branch if it is required. And then again, I believed in myself and I took it as a challenge over there, and I continued in my mining department. And in 2018, in campus placements, I got placed in Hindustan Zinc Limited. And after joining organization also, again we have challenges, that my career has started with many up and downs, because after coming also to mining industry, at the beginning we don't have any permission to go to underground and work in underground as men does, like foremen and all this. And there also we used to go to underground on visitor basis, I guess 4 times in a month, or sometimes 5 to 6 times. And in 2019, the DGMS, General Directorate Mine Safety, has given a permission and a circular notification telling that women can also work in underground as men does. And there again, that notification has given mining engineer women more motivation, that yes, we can also equal to men and we can also work. And soon I have started visiting my undergrounds and gained my more knowledge and experience in operations. And like all the previous speakers, like Lata ma'am and other speakers, said that in manufacturing industry previously they were facing many issues, but compared to that and now, like, it was completely changed. Because I was it's my 4th year of my journey. When I joined this organization, we have all facilities given by the organization, and the working condition in mining also has completely mechanized, and the equipments we were working with all were very advanced technology. And even we used to go to underground in RBOs and all other facilities we have. And from them, when I used to visit underground, I used to gain knowledge with them, with my workers. I need to interact with them, and there also, if anything goes wrong, I will be interacting with them, and I will also let them know that what is right and wrong. And for a mining engineer, basically we require 2 certificates. One is of second class and one is of first class. So after that 2019 notification, I used to go to underground and I got my experience. And after that, I have cleared my second class. And that was really a very proud moment for me, that for the first time I cleared, and it was for India's first woman to get second class in unrestricted category. And next, in 2021, I also cleared my first class exam, and I also cleared it in unrestricted category. And for any woman, or they should believe in the in self, that yes, we can do and I can do. And and the people also around you will trust that yes, if you are accepting any hard challenges, they can also feel that yes, if we can give any hard challenging to them, yes, they were accepting. So they can also generate some trust on you by that. And now the same thing has happened with me. The company has trusted me, and after trusting that, it has given me add-on addition jobs, like first it was production drilling in charge, and now recently section in charge, and in future it may be also promoted as mines manager. And not only in mining, in other departments also, the organization has supporting diversity with ample of opportunities, with great work culture around us. And I feel very proud to be part of this organization to achieve my dream. As a mining engineer, the dream is like to be a mine manager. So my dream has achieved by this organization, and I'm very thankful for the organization. And coming to diversity part in the organization, the diversity has increased to around 16%, and we also have very good policies like POSH and other maternity and crèche rules, even for the married women who were facing any issues. And I feel very happy, and I am also very thankful to this gender diversity participation conducted by BCIC team. And thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandhya, for a very inspiring speech. Now I would request Dr. Devarajan, who is the mentor of Manufacturing Expert Committee BCIC and who is also the Senior Vice President, Production Engineering, TVS Motor Company, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It was an excellent presentation by all the members of the committee here. It was a very thought-provoking program. And one major thing I learned is this is an experiential presentation. The people talked from their heart in what is the current issue and what is the need and what is the next step to be taken. I think it started with Parashuraman making that women are the CEO of the family. It is a very apt statement, and I could even see the last presentation by Sandhya also. She is the CEO of the entire company as well as the family. I think it is a very well point which Parashuraman started. And a lot of things came up on the case studies. Everyone, Lata made a very good case study about what are the challenges she faced, what are the enablers. And she started saying that how gender equality can be improved by having both sides. I can and I can do it. That's one positiveness. Upskill and reskill, pointed out very well by Lata. Accept the mistake and take it forward, and know the battlefield before you take the battle. I think fantastic points made by Lata also. And in terms of the first panel discussion, Pankajam made a fantastic discussion on the main champion for the future, for the change, level playing ground in which is very, very important. I'd like to mention here that TVS really encourages all the women employees. We have the entire assembly team of 100% women. We encourage the engineers from joining in the production places. Try to bring digital into more and more practice, which Pankajam also said about the change, how to make the manufacturing very important for all the women employees to join by digital areas. The panel discussion by Augustus was outstanding. And entire members, Uma Reddy, Anuradha, Meera Venkat, Shyam Sundar, outstanding points. I think I've made a lot of notes on this. I think each one of us been really benefited by this program today. Meera Venkat did bring about creativity and strong leadership, digitization with Generation C. Uma Reddy, with a woman entrepreneur herself, the amount of hard work she's made in PCB design, manufacture of PCB, transformer and coils, outstanding way of expression and confidence she brought in to the entire program. Shyam Sundar did brought about past and future and how to improve upon the work-life balances and leadership. Anuradha did brought about the culture and how to have women need to speak out with confidence, the dual role women is playing. Uma Reddy did talk about fantastically and about network, about getting back the how to get the funds for the entrepreneurship, and Meera did talk about mentoring and coaching areas. Mahima, it really made a very good in terms of how to make manufacturing improve the brand image, and how to bring in virtual in which software are doing to actual product which the engineers are able to own. And a good point about the Girls' Day and the care about equal responsibility, both the senior care and the professional areas. It was an outstanding conference which you had. We learned, we found in 4 areas what needs to be done to encourage people joining the company. What needs to be done for people working inside the company? what needs to be done during supporting in their in terms of maternity or marriage areas, and in terms of promotion. These are the 4 areas I think we need to really think how to make women employ around 50% so that the GDP goes up in the area. There are points in which both has to happen. Both the women as well as the company needs to work together in it. It's a joint exercise. And I think this work of us in terms of bringing this as a mini conference like what Prakash did mention will take it a long way to take it forward. I really thank Augustus, really thank Iralal to bring in this to such a fantastic together of all the points in this meeting. And of course, BCIC been putting into the action of all the areas. These are my points. I think it was a very good discussion. And Prakash, any other points from your end? I'd like to
No,
thank,
sir, I think,
yeah.
thank you very much. I think it was a wonderful session. And I think I just met Parashuraman also, and he also conveyed that this kind of a session we would like to compile, summarize, and we would like to definitely take it to the next level to further enhance. It means to say that we need to also make a representation to the government based on all these inputs.
Yeah.
And then definitely, I think this session has been a wonderful session. Thank you very much.
Ira,
Thank you
any
very
points
much,
from
sir.
your end? Ira, any points from your end?
Ira is not there, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
And on behalf of the chamber, we once again express our sincere thanks to all the distinguished speakers. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to play a small thank you video, and the memento we'll be sending it to their address. Please do stay with us, sir. Thank you all once again.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Good day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.